only we can make these jokes, like we're saving comedy. Like that's always the idea when somebody's being educated. Because the thing is the same with rap. People will make rap music and they make rap just to make this like whatever they think rap is. Like rap is about getting money and like their street rap. And so it becomes this like thing where you can so clearly see they're not like they didn't become a rapper because they had something to say. They became a rapper because they saw other people doing that and they just wanted to do the thing, you know? Or they have this version of rap they've created in their head. But like in my mind, it's just the expression. It's the pure creativity that is truly what people want. And it's the same with comedy. People really just want like a true thoughtful person to, or even like if you're not thoughtful and you're just being yourself, like we were saying before.
Yeah, if that's who you are, and
just
you're
being
not
yourself.
a thoughtful person, like then be that. Like
yeah. And so I don't know, dude. I just think it's like a tragedy to me when I see it because truly it drags everything down, like the whole art form. Because people look at that and they think that's what it is. They're like, oh, that's all these guys are doing. And when you see like a great comedian, a great artist, a great musician, you're amazed. It reminds you what art is, what it's supposed to be, you know?
Yeah.
Hello and welcome to episode 137 of Ruse Radio, folks. We're back at it again. We got a very special guest in the building. Special guest, please introduce yourself.
Hello, my name is Claire Parlette, and I'm here to party.
Yeah. Claire Parlette. That could be like a t-shirt if you ever make shirts.
I know, right? Was that from a Hot Rod? Yeah, I was like, I like to party, and I like to party. I like to party.
All I remember from Hot Rod is Cool Beans. That never left my brain.
Oh my God, Cool Beans is so good. Mm-hmm. What a fun thing to say.
Cool Beans.
Cool Beans.
You can just say it back and forth for 3 hours and it'll still be fun.
Right?
Yeah. Claire, with comedy, what brings you to such a thing? Why does that happen?
Oh my gosh, for me or just in general? Okay.
For you.
Why does comedy happen for me? That is such a good question. Let's see. I just feel like it was a part of my origin story of like, I remember watching Aladdin as a kid and hearing the genie and hearing that voice and being like, who is that? What is that? I want to be close to it. And that's like my first like comedy memory.
Really? So Robin Williams?
Yes.
Because that was so Robin Williams.
Yes.
Yeah. Like I remember reading about how it was like they literally designed it around him improving as the character. Like imagine that. You're improving and they're animating your improv in a massive Disney movie, or was it? Yeah, Disney, right?
Yeah.
I don't want to get that wrong.
Yeah.
I was thinking Disney, Pixar, Disney, Pixar. That's what's going on in my brain. But yeah, like so I could see how that would be it. Because Robin Williams was a comedy genius.
Yeah, for sure. And it's
what we were saying about intention, there was so much intention in everything he did.
Yes.
Yeah.
And even like the voices. And like, right, that's what he's known for, I feel like, is voices. And you don't really see a lot of that today, right? Like people do impressions. But the way that he would just throw voices around was so animated. And I think even just like that moment and that memory is like very true to like my style and what I like about comedy is like I like fun, I like voices, I like commitments, facial expressions, physicality, and it's always kind of been like from that point, like I'd always want to do theater and I would get the comedic role and just kind of always being the class clown. And I know a lot of us are, trying to fight through our anxiety and stuff through a sense of humor. And I feel like that's what I did as well. But just kind of that spirit of the playfulness and the goofiness is something I've always tried to bring to comedy. And I think it's what made stand-up hard for me in the beginning.
Really?
Yeah, because I came from, so I did like, musical theater and like cheerleading, all that stuff. And then I did improv in college. And
I feel all of that was like training for comedy, all of it.
Right? Yeah. And it's funny because all those things, all of those movement-based things have definitely lent, I couldn't do the splits if it wasn't for musical theater and gymnastics, Ruse. And, I'm 31. I still got a pretty hot split, See,
I was thinking like, I wouldn't be surprised if someone told me that Chris Farley was a cheerleader in high school.
Oh my gosh.
I'd be like, that makes perfect sense.
No, exactly. And so also the funny thing about cheerleading is like, I didn't understand the sport. Like I cheered for football. I didn't understand when we were on offense or defense. I didn't know who had the ball. I just wanted to have fun.
Yeah.
Like I wanted to get excited. I'm a cheerleader throughout life. Like I like to cheer people on. I like to get excited. I like to scream and dance. I'm like, this fucking rocks. Yes, I'm a cheerleader at heart. Don't get the sport. But yeah, like all of that pizzazz and energy has for sure been a through line in like who I am in my life. Yeah. But yeah, everything with improv and stuff, like I had fun, but I didn't really find my space. It felt like a little theater clicky to me, which I thought I would be into.
You know, I felt this. I took a couple improv classes, and just the general vibe I was getting, I was like, oh, you know, because when I was reading about improv and I was learning to understand it, like I think everything is improv. I think everything is like a freestyle. Like if you look at things that way, it all makes more sense. And so I was like, oh my God, this is perfect for me. It's literally how I already think. And then I got there and I was like, oh, this is such a perfect idea, but it like the people surrounding it weren't what I thought they were gonna be. You know, I did notice that.
Yeah. And it's hard because I feel like improv is right about like stream of thought.
Yep.
And even when you talk about freestyling with rapping, how you can still follow that. Like when you're at home and you're letting your thoughts be free, you still have time to map and mold. But when you're really on the mic doing it, it's like a fast stream. Like you can't really mold it or always have the time to curate it how you want.
Yeah.
And I think that was what was challenging is I didn't have the confidence or self-esteem to make big moves when I did improv, when I did it. So I was very much on the sidelines and always felt like I didn't know what to say, kind of felt like mute when I did improv. And that was really frustrating because I knew I wanted to do comedy and I felt like it was meant for me. And then everyone told me because I'm animated to do improv and that was my thing. But I never really like knew how to shine with it, which was kind of weird.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah, because it's the big choices thing. Like, that's interesting because I kind of felt the same way too. Like, it was like if I'm doing something individually, it's very easy for me to make big choices.
Yes.
Maybe it's like if you had a good improv group, it would be different. Because you hear that too. Like if you're in a group of people that are all like-minded and they're all kind of on the same wavelength, like that's when the best improv really happens. Mm-hmm. That's when you get it's called a herald. And if you remember what a herald was, folks at home, a herald is basically like the improv like mecca. That's like the top of that's what you do when you're an improv athlete.
Yeah,
literally.
And it's like the structure of like, right, we're going to do this opening game and then have 3 different scenes.
And none of it's planned. Like even the scenes that they're doing based on the opening game are not planned.
Yes.
Yeah. And then at the end, it all comes together into one like hopefully that's what I'm saying though.
Yeah,
everybody has to be on the same exact wavelength for that to properly work. That's why it's such an exercise. And I think that when you're learning improv in like a class or something like that, you might it's luck of the draw. Like you might just get the wrong, like the environment that wasn't proper to like put you in the position to shine. Because who knows? Like I have a couple people I know, I've never seen them do it, but it's Tim Perez, Sean Shaw, Andre Smerlos, and then a couple other people, and they're all in one big improv group. And I can I don't even think I've ever seen the 3 of them all together, but I can just imagine based on their energy, like, okay, that would probably work, Right. But that's what you need. I feel like that's what you need. And like, stepping in would be the hard part when you're not comfortable, like knowing when to introduce an idea, because, you just don't know. Like, you don't know if this is going to, like, I've heard comedians say, and I feel the same way, like that, like, you kind of feel like people are just waiting to find out that you've been an idiot all along. I'm an idiot, and it just amazes me you guys haven't figured it out yet. I feel like a lot of comedians feel like that. That's how I would feel in improv. Yeah. I'm like, if I say something, what do they all know I'm stupid? Like, what if I make the wrong choice?
Yeah, it kind of is that, like, it's for me, and within that totally heightened my social anxiety, like to just like a peak where, it's like you're waiting, or it's like if you're having dinner at someone's house that you like are intimidated by, and it's somebody else's like family, and you're like waiting for the right moment to say something.
That's a great
or the right thing to say. And it's just like the whole time you're reeling in your head of like, I don't know, mom seems like this, they're gonna dominate this, I don't know what to say, and then you do it, and then again you're just like overthinking it. And I admire people who can bust through that so much.
Folks, Ruse admires those people too. And actually, he's got a theory about those folks, those people who continue to bust through that ceiling, to break the tension and find themselves in that moment, to assert themselves when they need to assert themselves. I think when you do such a thing so often, I think when you do it, the reaction it produces in other people kind of blows their mind a little bit. They're like, whoa, that person just somehow did the Jedi mind trick on all of us. And I think you do that over and over and over. You become a Jedi master. You become a professional mind blower, t-shirts, folks. That's what we got for you here up in the Ruse studio, the Ruse Stew, and we're selling them for $25. That is shipping included. We've got smalls, we've got mediums, we've got larges, and we can make other sizes if you so please. All that information to get a t-shirt is in the link in the description. Now, say you want to support this show, but you don't want a t-shirt. Well, guess what? We make it easy for you. There's this little thing called Patreon. What? Patreon, that's right. $5 a month, the price of a coffee, the price of a beer at the bar, and you support this show. You make this thing happen. You let us know that you love what we're doing. So please, if you like what this is, you want to see some more of it, we're doing an episode every 3 days. That's different people, different stuff I got to set up. I got to do all kinds of stuff over here, okay? And if I want to hire little minions to help me, I need your help to help me hire the minions, okay? So Patreon, please consider it. It would really help this show grow. It's how we make this a big masterpiece production, as if it isn't already that, for real. Also, last thing I gotta tell you, as this episode drops, you're watching it right after it came out, it hasn't already been March 15th, 2025, you still have a chance to make it to the St. Paddy's Day Massacre. That's right, you have a chance to catch me live and in action, performing brand new music, new songs that just came out, such as Mr. Whole Time, what? Such as Flow, what? Such as Go, what? Yes, all of these are songs that I've recently dropped. You can hear them all now, and you can hear them live on March 15th. It is the St. Paddy's Day Massacre. It's Tim Perez and friends. Shout out Tim Perez, big friend of the show. Awesome dude. We love Tim Perez around here. He just dropped an album called Gone Fishing. Go check it out. It's amazing. The guy's amazing, and he's going to be there live too. You might as well make it. You might as well have yourself the night of your life. I mean, I'm just saying. Now let's get back to Claire's comedy story.
But I think I had to accept that I'm not going to be good at comedy in every art form and in every way, and that's okay. And because once I started stand-up and I started enjoying it more, and you said something really interesting about it is easier for me to take a big risk alone. And that's what I like about stand-up, is it's still hard. It's still scary. I still want to pee my pants and puke, but I can do it and make it happen, versus with improv, I was so like paralyzed because I felt like every creative choice was such a domino effect to the whole troupe. And unfortunately, like I couldn't get past it in that environment, and that's okay. Like, I'm a perfectionist, and it was so hard for me to let go of that, to be like, you know what, I'm okay at improv, but it's not really working out. And like with stand-up, I think I'm okay as well. I keep trying to get better, but I'm having more fun because I can see myself building, and I can take those individual risks and know that, like, yes, the audience might not like it, but if I'm doing something to trust my gut, I'm more comfortable taking the jump.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's interesting. I mean, I feel like that's the exact reason I do hip hop music, honestly, because I think hip hop, I'm a server as my day job, my real job, some might call it. And so when I'm doing that, I think it's also the same principle. Like it's so based on your individual performance, like the the way it scales. Like that's why I like being a server, because it's literally how I do determines what's going to happen. Like sometimes it's not like that. Sometimes, but that's just what happens when you work with humans. And so like, but generally speaking, however I perform and present myself and what I come in with is what's going to define what's going to happen there.
Yeah.
And I think hip hop music's the same way. Like, and it's so based on your individual whatever. Like that's what drew me to it, is I know that I can shape and mold this into anything. And I think like once you start introducing other people into that equation, you got to be really careful how you do so, because like, you know, for some cases, whatever makes you stronger might be the exact thing that makes someone else weaker, and you can fill in for each other, you know, and one of you can be the thing that fixes the thing the other person has. But also, you know, it could be the exact opposite. You guys could both be great and somehow like dragging each other down by work. It's just weird how that works, you know? And so, and a lot, like for me, I love that I can just like pull up a beat and just I can just follow my own conscious path by myself. I don't need anyone. And I can make this thing and do it by myself. And then I know that I did that and I didn't need anybody for it, you know? That's why I've always mixed and mastered my own music, and I learned how to do all that. That's why I bought all this equipment. So I never have to go message somebody and say like, hey, can I record this? Or hey, because you want that. Like you want to, I think there's something of like really powerful about being able to follow your own self, right? Like to be able to really do that, to be able to go on a stage and just embrace yourself. And like what you just said about, even if the audience isn't with it, you know you're with it. And that's what's most important. Like that's such an important thing to remember, because people will fuck themselves up if they don't realize that. They'll be like, oh, people didn't like this, people didn't seem to respond to this, but they'll over internalize it to the point where they stop doing things they used to do. And then like, what if they didn't do that? What if you just ignored those guys and just kept following it? True,
because the audience wants you to be confident. The audience wants you to take care of them, even if you're not at your peak at that moment, because the audience also had a hard day, maybe. And that's what I realized too. Like I can't expect my audience for this to be the peak of their week. Sometimes it does feel like that way, and sometimes it is. But also sometimes maybe your audience had a shit day and they almost didn't show up, but they still did. And I would rather have those people there, even if they're not laughing, just to be there and enjoy it in silence than not. And so many times too, after a show, right, people will be like, thank you so much. This was so fun. I liked XYZ. And if you're just throwing the towel in halfway through your set because you think they don't like you, or one of my other things that I really try not to do is don't acknowledge it too much. You know, if they're not with you, like, yeah, you can make a joke about it, but again, don't sabotage your set.
I've seen that happen.
Because people are still like, they're still rooting for you. Yeah. And again, some people are really tasteful in how they acknowledge the audience when they're not laughing, but don't bully them. I'm just like, again, that's the cheerleader in me, is like, in the musical theater, the show must go on. Do it like as if nobody was there and you're just doing it for yourself, kind of as you said.
Yeah, it's just like, I've had a similar type of conversation, because it's like, the thing then becomes like, I think with music, like I can get away with it easier than you can, because I'm not so dependent on the audience. Like as a comedian, you are entirely dependent on their reaction. It's just built into the nature of the art. Like if they do not laugh, that will be felt by everyone. Whereas in music, I could just do whatever I'm doing, and maybe I don't catch the whole audience. Maybe I catch 2 of them, but I catch 2 of them like 100%. And that's what's most important. But they didn't feel everybody else not feeling it, you know? Or you don't have to like, it doesn't have to be so obvious that like things didn't go perfect in music. Some people it's easier for them to lie to you and be like, oh, good job. Whereas in comedy, you just didn't make them laugh. Like it just didn't happen. What you thought was going to happen didn't happen.
It's a hard loss.
But like that's why it's different. Like the psychological, like how you deal with it, because I can just say, oh, like, whatever, you guys just didn't get it. Like, I'll just do it. I know what I'm doing. I'm a musician. I know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
So it's like, whereas in comedy, I feel like it'd be easier to get that bug in your brain. Like, oh, like, what is wrong with me? Like, why? And you know what's interesting, too, is, like, there's so many comedians who they just randomly get good. Like, they're okay for a while, and then all of a sudden they're good.
Yeah.
And, like, that's the exact reason you can't give up on the way you're thinking about it. Because, like, at some point, somehow, they just magically figured that out. Like, they were almost doing it right, and then they started doing it right.
Yeah.
But, like, you know, because you'll lose faith in those people sometimes. You'll be like, oh no, it's never going to change.
And you know what? That's why, like, in every art form I've done, like, I've been singing, I've been dancing, I've been doing comedy. I have seen the worst person in the room become the best.
Yeah, it's crazy.
In everything I've done. And so that's why I really reject the idea of you just have it or you don't. Like, there's, I don't even the person in the comedy scene that I'm thinking of that doesn't have it. No, I'm just kidding. No, I'm just teasing. But, like, if there's anyone in a room you're in that you think they don't have it, just wait. Like, you never fucking know. People are always working on their shit. And a lot of times too, like, your biggest weaknesses can become your biggest strengths. And like, rhythm can be taught in dance, in music. I've seen it happen. Like, I've seen a guy come into swing dance class where I'm like, why the fuck is he here? Like, he has no rhythm, and then he's the one that everyone wants to dance with. And I've just seen it through everything. And that's why it's like, you need to treat yourself with that same grace too, and being like, yeah, I can do it too. Or, like, these weird quirks I have that, like, I always say, like right now, I always do this. You can get through it. You know, if the most important thing is that you care. If you care about your art, if you want to improve, and if you want to have your own version of fun, like, you can find your own voice, how we're talking about, and become the best version of you doing it.
Yeah.
There's no real best in comedy. I don't believe that. It's taste, but you can become your best. Like, anyone can get good at this.
Yeah. I mean, like, it's interesting too, because a lot of the time it's so incremental. Like, you don't see that happen in real time, and it's so personal. So it's hard to understand it, like, to apply it to yourself. Because you can't compare, like, your success to someone else's success, you know?
Yes.
Like, whatever your success is so individually, like, tailored to you. Whatever you are is going to slowly unravel. And, like, you know, I think it doesn't just happen, like, overnight. I think that's what I was going to say. As you're saying that, I thought, like, you know, I think that things can be taught, but I think that, like, people get started at different points. So, like, I have 100%. A different starting point of talent.
Yes.
Like, some people are amazing at music when they start and they just get better. Some people are great and then they, like, flatline.
Yeah.
Some people are bad and then they get good. But, like, where you start from is a completely different place for a lot of people. And even then, like, that's relative. Like, starting point is just a term that I'm using. Like, really, whatever you are is, again, completely unique. Like, nothing is going to be like you, you know?
Yeah.
And so that's what's so interesting about it. Because, like, it's like watching a flower blossom when it's done properly.
It is.
You're like, oh my God, it's adorable.
Yeah. Some flowers are duds, guys. You might be a dud. No, I'm just kidding.
You could be a dud. You need some sunlight.
You could be a dud.
You might need some sunlight.
You might have to take some time to water the roots.
Yeah.
Get a little sun.
That stuff is required.
Yeah.
Even though it takes some time, you do have to do it.
But it's so true. And another thing that I heard was taught in therapy when I had to go back for, like, the fourth time. You know, I've been going to therapy my whole life. Is
on again, off again relationship.
I just think it's so important to grow as a person, and again, be a baseline level of okay. And so I am now. But one thing my therapist taught me, she was like, growth is not consistent. And that was really hard. I was like, what do you mean? Like, when she told me this, because I was like, I've always been so hard on myself, such a perfectionist, like, paralyzing myself so I can't do the art, the things I want to do. Like, and she was saying, like, you're going to have ups and downs when you're growing. And that's really, really hard, because you think, if I'm putting in consistent work, why isn't the output consistent? And that's really, because sometimes it's not. Like, nothing's guaranteed. And I kind of like to view it like the stock market. There are ups and downs and crashes, but everything generally trends upwards. And that's what I just have to remind myself when I bomb, when things aren't going right. It's like, even when you have the crash, like you're still, if you're going to keep putting in the effort, you're going to be generally trending upwards in some way. And so, yeah, I just like try to tell myself that to remind myself.
That's interesting to think of it like a stock that generally trends upwards. That's a good way to like visualize it in your brain, like to actually see it and how it would work. Because, yeah, I think it's all about, again, like in the end, it's that intention, that ultimate mindset. Like if your ultimate goal is to get better and get better and get better, then you will. But if you're not thinking that way, then you'll stagnate somehow. Like you have to be pursuing it constantly.
True.
Because if you're not doing that, then the stock will go down. Like the stock value declines when you're not focusing on trending upward.
For sure. And one piece of advice I got from a full-time cruise ship comic. Ayo. There's jobs out there where he was like, you might not know me, but I've bought a house with comedy money and sent kids through college. And I'm like, yes. He was just saying that like, pick, like whenever you do a mic or something, pick one goal, and that goal could be anything. He was like, your goal could be like, I want to dress nice today while do comedy and see how that affects me. Or like, I want to focus on my energy, my pacing, or this joke, but just pick one thing. Because oftentimes if we pick two or three, or if I pick two or three, I will end up not doing any of them. Because when you're up there and you're nervous and, you know, it's hard to focus on multiple things. And that was also a tip with dance, too, of like, if you're trying to improve something in that moment, like just pick one thing, whether that's energy, eye contact, relaxing your shoulders, adding one tag to a joke. And because you're always going to end up doing more than you think. Yeah. But like the one focal point is something that really helped me when I feel bananas. Yeah.
That's smart though, because like I think when you do it like that, if you do one thing at a time, once you get better at one thing and then another thing and another thing, before you know it, you're better at all 10 things and you're doing them all at once.
Yes. But yeah, if you're constantly trying to learn all those 10 things every time you're at a 5-minute mic, that's going to be really hard. But yeah, I think the goal is, some of those things will then become who you are and will be your autopilot. Like, you know, for me, I'm like, I've always known I was a mover, right? But seeing so many comics stand in place made me feel self-conscious about moving. And then, that would just be my goal sometimes is I'm like, I want to put every joke into my body. The whole joke is in my body. Yeah. Whether it's just me breathing, you seeing my breath in my body while I'm on stage and pausing, whether it's like, I feel like I use a lot of cabaret style techniques of just like, you turn your head, you wink, you do this, you use your hands, like putting that whole joke into my fingertips, my toes when you're telling it. And that's a different quality. And so like, those are things that I'll focus on when they're not related to writing things down on paper. But that's what I realized is like also writing. I was very confused when people were talking about writing jokes because I'm like, it's kind of like a conversation. Yeah. It's a story. I'm like, what do you mean? And
when people write them differently, even they have different processes of writing them. Because like as someone who's not a comedian, it always like confused me. Like, and even then, if you ask, like I'm saying, like you ask different comedians, they'll tell you like they have this way of writing it. Like some people do bullet points, some people do sticky notes, some people write out like a stream of consciousness, like you just said. They'll literally just write out like 2 pages worth of whatever they're thinking and then convert that into comedy somehow. It's just crazy all the different ways that people will do it, you know, what their process is. Because joke writing is different than songwriting. Like songwriting, I'm saying what's on the paper no matter what.
True.
Most of the time. Like I've seen like Eminem, he's a funny one. I remember I saw something about like, this is a page that how Eminem wrote these. I think it was the song Lose Yourself, but it might have been something else. And he like literally, he writes it in a way where no one else could read it. He'll write one thing here and then another thing sideways. And then it's like, it looks like crackhead writing. Yeah. But it's an Eminem song. Like, you know,
it works for him.
It works. Yeah. And you've heard Eminem, like it works. Yeah. So it's just crazy that people have their own ways of doing that. But in comedy in particular, though, there's a million ways to do it. There's no right way, too. That's the other thing.
Yeah, and that's why it's like, I think like you have to do what kind of works for you.
Yeah.
Like, yes, it's important to stretch myself, right? Like I want to spend more time pen and paper and listening and, challenging myself, but also like it's okay to play into your strengths and use that too. Like you don't always have to be like climbing uphill as an artist and like being, again, like stretching yourself in ways that maybe just aren't your style. And I think that's what I've learned too, is I'm like, I'm not seeing people around me or a ton. There are people that I think are more physical, and then those are the people I look up to take notes from, because that's what I identify with, and it's helped me be less self-conscious and also just like pave your own way. Someone's not doing it, maybe you're the one that's doing it. And it's hard when you're in a room full of people that aren't, or you feel like there's an audience that is only laughing at just strict setup punchline stuff with people standing still. Like for me, like that's really intimidating, because I'm like, I'm not that. And
see, but I feel like that would even make you stick out more though. Like if you're in a place like that, I think if you're the one person doing that sticks out to an audience. They're like, oh, everyone else was just standing still and just being, playing it straight, and then you come out and you're just fucking
jazz
they're like,
hands.
whoa! The audience is just taken off guard,
right.
Sweep them off their feet, That could be. But then again, like it's playing to your strength. It's like allowing that to be the strength rather than the weakness. Like thinking of it that way.
Yes, exactly. So like I for sure accidentally self-sabotaged by being intimidated and then being half physical because I'm kind of scared or I don't really know, and then they didn't laugh. So that was probably a self-fulfilled prophecy when I've done that.
That's exactly what it is.
Right?
Yeah.
But like, and also too, like when I did a roast battle, and I bombed, and the audience did not like me because I was being physical and being like myself. And Chris Grieco, he was just like, Claire, they hated you because of your energy.
Damn,
and
bro.
honestly,
that's a cold, hard truth right there.
Yeah, right. But that's okay, Chris. Thank you. But honestly, it almost felt like kind of validating and freeing. Like, if you don't like me because of my energy, that's who I am, and you won't like me.
Yeah.
That's okay.
That's an enlightened way to think.
Yes,
though.
like I want everyone to like me. Like that would be amazing. But some people are going to think I'm maybe being fake, that this is artificial, and I do get that a lot.
And they'll think that no matter what you do.
Yes, and I've noticed that just in life, and even I wait tables too. And there was this one time where a guest, he was kind of prickly to me a lot, and finally he warmed up one day, and he was like, "Hey, I just want to apologize." He's like, "Sometimes I've been a little bit cold towards you because I just didn't understand your energy, and I kind of thought it was fake, and it put me off because I'm like, there's no way anyone could be this happy." And it's not that I'm a happy person all the time. I do carry myself that way, but that was another time that showed me that like sometimes people won't like me for my bubbliness or because I'm excited or having fun
for the exact thing that other people love you for.
Right. And so like, you can't win them all, and that's okay.
I think it's even like there's the enlightenment in that is the fact that like to be something truly unique, like to be something that's truly yourself, you're automatically going to be disliked by other people, because you're not. If you're really embracing yourself and you're doing whatever you do, it's going to be unique, and it's not going to be like everybody else, and that's going to intimidate people, and they're not going to like it, or they might judge it like critically, like they'll not, because they don't understand it. Like if you played it safe and you just did the safe choice, then people are more likely to just be like, they'll be cool with you because you did the safe thing. But if you're being yourself and you're taking risks, naturally people are going to like, you're not going to satisfy everybody. But again, like it's that exact thing that makes people love you more. That's why it's like you just become polarizing in this weird way. And it doesn't even make any sense really, because you're not doing much. You're not, in your mind, you're not doing all that much.
It's so true. Like, and I think, like I have a deep-seated fear of being disliked, right?
Yeah.
Or, and
I think that's common amongst comedians.
Right.
You see that a lot.
And that's a good point, right? Like we want to make people laugh. We want people to like us. Most comedians are kind of used to being the class clown in their own friend group in some way. So like, not being liked is, that's very scary, right? But we're always putting ourselves out there. And then, I don't know, it's just, you hear people who are, successful and have done it or are at peace with themselves say like, whatever I do, there's going to be people that don't like me. And so like for so long, like I would just, again, do so much to appease the people around me, or even artistically, like afraid to tell certain jokes. I would be paranoid that if I told a joke about sex, that somebody would record me and put it on YouTube, and then my family would see it and they would hate me. Like, and now my mom is in the audience, like cheering me on when I'm doing my like sex handstand joke about a crazy one night stand. Like, and it's just like people will always have something to say or have thoughts. And if I toned it all down, then some people might be like, she's not enough. She's bland. She's this. So like, I think once I came to peace with the fact that like whatever you do, there's going to be people that don't like you, and to accept that, it's helped me take risks. But it's always so scary. It's silly that doing stand-up is probably the safest thing I can do, right? There's a full audience of people. If I were to have a heart attack on stage, I would be taken care of. But it's still so scary.
I would be afraid to do comedy. I was saying that right before we started too. Yeah. Like if I were to do it, I would be so worried that the learning curve would just reintroduce itself so harshly. Like, because I'm in my mind, I'm confident. In my mind, I know exactly what I'm doing. And so I feel like if I were to bomb, I'd be fine. But if I were to bomb like 10 times in a row, my ego might take a big hit, you know? I might not be the same man after that. Ruse might be crying in here in this Ruse studio. And might be holding the cat extra close that night.
Right? And here's the thing, too. You can cry. Yeah. It's okay to cry.
Oh, I know.
Like I've done mics where I like run to the bathroom after because I'm so embarrassed, or I have a show that's so frustrating. I cried to one of my friends who's a producer where I'm like, I don't know how this went so wrong. Like I did my strongest jokes in what I thought with the same energy, and people were staring at me like I was in a museum. Like, and it's hard, but like that's what I think we need to be okay with crying. Like, we got to get rid of this tough boy shit, this tough girl shit. Like, we do have feelings. Like, we do have feelings. We should share them. We're laughing. I'm expecting that feeling out of the audience. We want something real. And if I can't be real and sensitive and cry, then how am I supposed to bring joy to strangers? Like, how is that relatable if I am too tough and so immune to hurt? Like, no, we're on the whole journey. And I think that we're seeing more of this, right? Because we're in kind of our self-help era, right? Hashtag therapy, better help. But I think it is important, right? But I think it is important because we do want something more. I see it. It's like in the audiences, how the mood shifts when someone's telling all these bangers and then the comic actually opens up or has a premise that's like real and vulnerable and relatable. And I do think off the mic, I can tell who will talk about real life and who will not. Mm-hmm. And that is always your prerogative. But what I notice is I become closer with people when we're able to open up and actually talk about your day and week. And then as a community, we become stronger and not as alone.
Yeah. Well, I see, like with comedy in particular, you'll see that I think it's interesting to me because in a way it makes sense, but in another way, like, it's like what you just said. It'd be so much better if you just opened up and you were just real. But comedians, I think they're on. They're trying to be funny. Yeah. And so in conversation, they'll do that. They'll just be on 24/7 to the point where you don't feel like you're ever having a real conversation. And like, I can't remember who it was. Somebody on the podcast had said that to me. Like, they'll be with all their comedian friends and they'll be just riffing so much that it's like, you think about it and it's like, dang, like, when have I ever had like a real talk with these guys?
Yeah.
Like, ever. Right. Because a lot of the time you don't, you know? And like,
exactly.
And like with comedy podcasts, you'll see that a lot, you know? That's why I like being able to do this, because I think like a lot of comedy podcasts are people being on and they're trying to be funny, which works, but then you don't see that side of them that is real, like that side of them that is who they truly are. And that's the part of them that I think really draws you in, just like when you're connecting with a person in real life, you know, like you're being real with each other. And I think everybody has like, I call it a bullshit meter in their brain, you know? Like, you can feel it. You're literally designed to sense it. It's within your DNA. Like, you have to know whether or not that person's being real, because, like, in a tribal sense,
it's
like,
survival.
Exactly. What if they're not being real and they're going to steal all my stuff? It could be anything.
Yeah.
But you learned that somewhere way down the line. And so I think when people see music that's not real, when you see comedy that's not real, you can just feel it. And you'll fool some people and you can string some people along. But, like, when it comes down to it, like, I just think things play out properly. Like, there's a karma to it. If you're not real, then you won't get those real experiences and you won't have real events that happen. You won't have real people surrounding you, and that just kills your spirit slowly. It's like strangling yourself if you don't learn to be real. And you feel it too. I think that's what makes people shine, is when they are actually real. And then what you said about, like, feeling, like, that's such an important way to look at it. Like, being able to feel.
I got a little tense there about the feeling.
You must feel your vocal. You must cry. But for real though,
you must.
You have to, because if you don't, you're probably crazy. If you don't,
thank you. You're
a
and you know what?
sociopath.
You're gonna explode.
Yeah,
you're gonna explode.
You're
someday.
literally a bubble that's, like, slowly getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger, and at one point that bubble will pop.
Yes.
Yeah. And that's not good. It's pressurized. Like, you just get over pressurized, and you have all this stuff cramped up inside. You know.
Exactly.
I've never went to therapy, but I think that's the number one reason you probably should, okay? Like, I'm good at it. I think I'm good. I think I'm expressive enough. I think I talk through all this stuff enough. I think I've done mushrooms enough times. I think I've got it. But, like, with therapy, if you're somebody who does bottle a lot of stuff up, there's patterns within you that you don't even notice. Even if you're somebody who thinks you're normal, like, there's a pattern within you that you don't see, and you just need the right person to point that out, and that'll just unravel you. Like, I think therapy done properly it's not even that complicated. It's literally like, you're just talking to them, you're telling them everything, and then they just say, like, one simple thing that fucks you up.
Yeah.
You're like, oh my God, they're right. Because they can see it in you, and you could never see that before.
No, and it's so true. Like, just also, thank you. I thought I was going to tell jokes this whole hour, and I'm glad that I can talk about feelings and be myself.
You're welcome. I
appreciate it. Because it's fun to be on, but it's also fun to be on and, like, just talking about life. But yeah, like, I had so much anxiety when I was a kid. I was, like, nearly, like, mute. So I ran out of preschool. I dropped out of preschool, where the teachers told me, like, you can't bring her here anymore. And I had to be medicated from a really young age, because, like, I was just constantly, like, in fight or flight and crying all the time. And I just kind of, like, couldn't do it. Like, I kind of couldn't do life, couldn't sit in the classroom. And through medication and, like, therapy, I've been able to be the person I want to be. And I think that's, like, a big deal too. Is, like, if you're at peace with yourself, don't go to therapy. If you feel like you know enough about your feelings that you're comfortable with, or you don't want to know about your feelings and you're happy, that's fine. I think I realized, like, I was feeling so much and I didn't know why, and I felt alone, that, like, I needed to learn. And that's what I think therapy has been for me too. It's like, it's more learning about yourself, or learning words for feelings and life experiences that we're all experiencing, but sometimes we can feel so alone. And that's kind of what I'm talking about with too, like, comics talking to each other and seeing, like, who's open to sharing about life, because it can be lonely. And a lot of us almost everyone will have some mental health struggle in their life. And it's important to, like, validate each other and know we're not alone, and just know that, like, therapy is not about getting fixed or being diagnosed. It's about, like, learning about yourself and, and feeling safe so you can live the life you want to live. And I just think that's how I felt when I was younger, and why I went, because I'm like, I knew I wanted to be creative. I knew I wanted to be out there doing the splits on stage in front of people in a basement, but I was too afraid. And now I can freely do the splits whenever I want, and I feel empowered. And I like living that silly life. Like, it's hard when you feel like you see people having fun and laughing, and you're too afraid, and you're on the sidelines, like you're in a glass case, but you're just, like, afraid to do it. And now, like, I'm finally doing it, and it's crazy.
Yeah. And it's almost like, it's like, what's the word I'm looking for? it validates yourself just going out there and doing it. Like, I think the actions come before the thoughts. Like when you go out there and you do it, because you might be having doubt that night, but like just the fact that you went out there and did it, like it validates all of that. It makes you feel like, okay, I can be myself. It's safe because it's like what you said about the audience being on your side and wanting the best for you. Like usually that's always the case. Like no matter what you tell yourself, like almost everybody in the world wants the best for you. Not even just the audience. Like people just want the best for you. You might seem like otherwise in your brain, but really, like when it comes down to it, no one's like wishing ill upon you. It doesn't actually happen, Yeah. But you'll wish ill upon yourself, and you'll talk yourself into these crazy things,
right?
Yeah.
And that's why when I was first starting to, so I did first like start actually taking comedy more seriously because somebody told me that it wasn't for me.
That was like a challenge to you.
Yeah.
Like, oh, okay.
Yeah, and I was like, okay, and I'm like, out of spite, absolutely. But no, what that taught me too is like I've been telling myself maybe this isn't for you, maybe you can't do it, all these things, and when that came out of somebody else's mouth, I was like, holy shit. It's like I heard myself for the first time.
Yeah.
I'm like, would I really speak out loud to myself? Like, no, like I reject this idea. And my goal when I was first starting to take stand-up seriously is I wanted to do 5 mics a week for a month. And to see what would happen, because I would keep doing 1 mic and then take a 2 weeks break, 2 mics, because I would get so afraid in my head. And when I was doing that, like there's times where I'd be pacing around my living room, wondering if I'm going to go, just talking shit to myself. And then I remembered what RuPaul said. And RuPaul said that this is your inner saboteur, okay? That there's like a little monster in your head, your inner saboteur that's always going to talk shit, and you need to identify that and tell them to shut up. Like, and now that I have like a name for that character in my head, it comes back all the time. But I know, like, oh, Claire, is that you? Is that actually what you want? Or is that somebody trying to sabotage you? And that's really helped me where I'm like, this sucks. But again, with the safety, like those negative thoughts, usually we have negative thoughts to protect ourselves, to survive, right? I'm going to be safe. Like, I want this, and I can make it happen. And it takes a lot to overcome that inner saboteur.
Wow. I never thought about it like it's a survival technique to have the negative thought, but that probably is exactly it. Like, you do have to test yourself all the time.
Right? Yeah. Like, if I was in a village and I was going up to the open mic and then I got ostracized and then nobody fed me any of their food that they hunted and gathered, I would die. I would die.
You do the splits and they call you a witch.
Yeah, I do the splits and I'm a witch. Or no, I would be possessed because I'm doing the splits because I'm having fun. It's just how I show people I'm having fun.
But they didn't understand.
And they didn't get it. Like, it all stems from that. But it's hard to remind yourself that, like, you're gonna be okay.
And it's even crazy, like, no matter how many times that doesn't happen, you'll still do it. You'll still convince yourself that this is gonna be the time that it goes wrong.
Yeah. Right?
Like, no matter what, it's crazy. Like, even like, people who you'd think are like established professionals, amazing, successful, they'll tell you the same exact thing. Like, they get anxiety before they perform, and they still get nervous. Like, you would think, like, how? Like, everybody loves you. But that's exactly it. Is like, that inner critic is probably what molded them into what they are too.
Yeah.
That thing that constantly criticized themselves is the exact thing that makes you get better and better and improve and improve and improve. Because to an extent, you do have to be hard on yourself. Like, to an extent, that is actually useful. Like, getting yourself out of that apartment and going is also you being hard on yourself in a way. It's like saying, no, like, forget all that. We're going to go anyway. There's an amount of discipline in that like builds character, but it's through the actions. It's through doing it.
For sure. And this is like, I think this is a very interesting idea because I've thought about it so much because, again, probably like everyone here and listening, I've been extremely hard on myself from a young age. Just, you say something, that was dumb, blah, 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 like the anxiety, the beating myself up. And so, I don't know. And what I've tried to learn is that, like, is this negativity actually motivating me? And for me, it wasn't. Like, the negativity of, like, saying, if I need to go to this mic because, like, I don't want to suck. Like, well, then I would be like, well, I do suck, so why should I even try? So what I have to do is like, I'll be like, I am going to go to this mic because I want to get better. Tonight might not be perfect, but I'm going to do it anyway. And like using that language that's like a little more, maybe not totally positive, but even neutral. So being like, I'm going to do my best. I'm going to do the thing. Overall, I'll probably get better and I'll appreciate this in the long run. Like if I do this.
I read something that was saying that if you introduce statements in such a way, people are more likely to agree with you. Like if you don't use negative terms, but instead you use positive terms, people are more likely to agree. So if I were to say that like, I think street rap is terrible. I hate it. The better way to say that would be, you know, street rap is its own art form, but I think that when you're rapping with trying to uplift a culture, when you're trying to take a culture and make it better and really pull it out of that mentality, that's where it's truly powerful. Those are two completely different statements I just made, but they're getting at the same idea. And like, that's the idea there. And if you do that with yourself, I never thought about that. If you do it with yourself, with your own, just little things, you know?
Yeah. And even be like, even like what you said, that was such a cool rephrasing where I'm like, oh my God, the second one wasn't even, you know, negative at all. That was so positive and just neutral. And another thing that, again, like, you know, and speaking of negativities, you can say like, it's not for me. And like hearing people say that around me is just so, it tells me the truth. I know you don't like it, but you're not berating it and you're not focusing on it. You're instead focusing still on what you like.
Yeah.
And so it's okay to acknowledge things that aren't working, even in your own jokes. Even like, I'll try something and be like, this just really isn't working and I want it to work. Instead of being like, this sucks. I feel dumb. That was dumb and I just don't know how to get it and I'm never going to get it. Like just being like, I want this to work. It's not working for me right now, this joke. And I always say, I'm going to put it on a jar and I'm going to let it pickle. We're going to let it pickle. I might pick it up in 6 months.
We're fermenting this idea.
We are fermenting this. And you might try it again and it's still not ready. And that's okay. Maybe it'll never be ready. But like those approaches to like writing and getting up there have been really helpful because the negativity towards yourself, I used to use negativity to try to motivate myself and it was really hard. It worked sometimes, but it got exhausting. Mm-hmm. And so now I just try to remember we're here for fun. Yes, I do want this badly and I really want to take this seriously. I want this to be my career and I'm really ready to do it, but I have to be gentle. And how am I supposed to bring joy and fun to other people if I don't feel joy and fun? And if I'm being negative and shitty to myself, how can I make other people feel light, you know?
Yeah. And again, with comedy in particular, that's so important. Like, because it's spreading joy truly is what you're trying to do. You're literally trying to take people from this, whatever place they're in, and just bring them up a little bit, you know? That's kind of the beauty of it. I think comedy, if you look at everything spiritually, I think everything is a little bit deeper. You know, I think you can take everything and look at it on a deeper level if you really want to. I think comedy is that. It's bringing people up, you know, and it's a necessary thing. You need it. Like, life without jokes, life without laughter is just depressing.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm not trying to say that everyone needs to be sunshine and rainbows, right? Like
even dark comedy done well can lift people up, you know?
Yes, and it still has that effect. And like I hope that person that's doing dark comedy is okay. Usually you can tell if they are though.
And you can tell if they aren't.
Yeah, and you can tell if they aren't. And that's what like the nuance of that we're talking about of like taking care of yourself and kind of like towing the line, which is a big trend in comedy, right? Towing the line. Like you want to just be there. And unfortunately, there's probably people that aren't okay, that are doing it, that are hustling or really depressed. But I hope people are taking care of themselves enough to stay alive, get the job done, and again, bring some levity, even if it is from a dark or edgy lens. I just think that, this like idea of the starving artist or that we must be broken to create art prevents us from like healing and like living a happy life. And I think you can still produce quality art from a good space. I think it's important to take care of yourself and grow as a human. And just for a long time, I thought I had to be broken and disheveled and in order to produce something meaningful. And slowly I don't think so.
that's such an interesting idea because it really is like a battle in my brain. Because I think most people who are creative, you'll hear that story over and over and over again. Like if you were somebody who didn't have that drive, who didn't challenge themselves and want to get better at this very particular thing, whatever it is, like if you're not into that, like chasing something like that, you probably don't have that internal battle in the first place. But almost always those people who are doing that have that exact thing we're talking about. Like they have that exact thing in their brain that just gets at them over and over and over again. And it makes me think, like, does that make it good or bad? Like maybe that's almost a good thing that you do have that, like, but you're putting me on right now because I never really thought about it like that. You do the same thing, but you flip it. You just do it the other way around. Rather than saying it negatively, like, oh, this is bad, you flip it and you challenge yourself that same exact way, but you do it positively. Yes. And that's the difference. But it's
still drive.
Yeah, but that's what separates a depressed artist from a positive artist. Pessimism versus optimism,
And you can still be honest with the quality of things. I'm not saying I actually do believe in blowing steam up people's asses.
Yeah.
I think it's okay to hype people up even if they did a poor job quality wise.
I agree with that.
And that's something I agree with too. Yeah, I think we should gas each other up. If people are looking for honest feedback, there's always a way to say it in a neutral or positive way, and you also deserve to give that to yourself because it's really hard to grow, I think, from a desert negative space. People do it. They do it, and that's fine. I'm not saying it's impossible, but it's like, I think it's more, what do I want for myself? Do I want to grow from a negative space of being critical and everything being so hard and like, I don't know, dark? Like
flowers need sunshine.
Yeah, they do. Yeah, and water and things around them to help them grow and support. And yeah, comedy is such a space of addiction, depression, abuse.
I went
in a lot of ways.
My mom just visited, and we went to the Ha Ha to Hell show produced by Tina Yukana. Is that your
Yokana. Yeah, love Tina.
Love Tina.
She's amazing.
She'll be on this show soon.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
And we went to that show, and afterwards, my mom was like, they were all joking about how they're addicted to drugs. That was my mom's main takeaway.
Oh, yes.
And she was right. My mom was absolutely correct.
Right.
I didn't really even notice it until she pointed it out. I'm like, you're right. Every single one, like without fail almost. I think Tina dodged the bullet. I think everybody else.
Yeah. Right. And obviously that's like a dark comedy show where like it might be isolated, but then also for the purpose of being unique and yourself. You're just another, is your voice just being another sad, depressed artist?
Yeah.
And not just, obviously, that's sad and I don't want that for them. But also, like, yeah, can you challenge yourself to think that you deserve to be neutral or happy? Are you willing to set aside a little bit of time and research to figure out how to get there? Because it's not easy. Like, it is hard to take care of yourself and feel like you deserve to, like, have peace and be happy and can be successful. Like, I forget the word, but not everything has to come at a cost. Sometimes they do, but like, I can be a happy person and have a successful career. It might take time and a lot of hard work, but does it have to take depression, being hard on myself, being bankrupt? Like, no, that's like something that I would do that because I don't think I deserve it for free or like abundance. And like, it is there. We can do it. And I just feel like we are struggling right now. Like, but I mean, we're in this era where we have resources and friendship and stuff. And that's why, I don't know, I just think I appreciate it when I hear comics really asking each other how they are doing. And really just like how you said, opening up and being real and taking a moment to pause on the jokes. We know we're all funny. We know we're all growing and working, but like, yeah, can we just have a moment to like, yeah, be real and ask how we are? Because I just feel like there's so much success in this scene and there's so much talent and amazing, cool people. And I just want us to keep like taking care of each other and taking care of ourselves because like it can coexist. We don't have to, it doesn't have to be so treacherous maybe, but it is hard to get out of that. Like, I'm not saying it's easy.
Yeah. I had, there was Ethan Cohen. He's been on here a couple of times. The rabbi dude. He's a great guy. Each time I've had him on, he'll say things that like enlighten me. Like he'll just have little nuggets he throws in there. I'm like, whoa, dude! Like it makes me think for months. Like, literally. And one thing he said to me that keeps like reoccurring in my brain is he said like it was something he read somewhere. I can't remember where the source of it was, the original source, but it was that the most popular people are the ones that see the best in everyone else, and that just like blew my mind because. It's even like, even if you just apply it to your own inner psyche, like just seeing the best in yourself and looking for that rather than looking for the worst in yourself. Because I think naturally you do look for the worst in things. Like it's, again,
because we want to improve.
Yes, exactly. It makes perfect sense that you would do so. Yeah. But if you like, for people to look at you and go, that's a cool guy. Like that's a cool girl. She's so nice. Yeah. When you think about like what makes them cool, what makes them so likable, it's exactly what he said, that they're looking for the best in everyone else. Yeah. You know, and like what you said about when someone has a bad set and like lifting them up and still gassing them up and looking for a positive way to do it. Like that's if you look at everybody that way, you naturally like you're going to see other people improve. Like you're just going to do it. And like I think it's being what you want to see too. Like if you want to see people be real, if you want to see people get better, you introduce that into the world. Yeah. It's almost like people forget what that is when you're starved from it for so long, you know, when constantly, you know, people aren't that way and then someone is. Like we said before, it's almost like off-putting at first.
Yes.
But
that's why people will be suspicious, too. So I was saying, like, of me sometimes. And not that I'm always that way. Again, like, I'm not always sunshine. Trust me. Yeah. But, like, people will be suspicious, like, of me. But then also, I'll do that to other people, Ruse. When people out-sunshine me, sometimes I'm a little bit like, whoa, why the fuck are you so happy?
This can't be real.
Even from me. Yeah. Like, we all do this to each other because we are looking for something authentic and real. And if someone's being really nice to me for no reason, I might be like, do you want something from me? Like, I'm trying to protect myself. Even though I know I do that, you know, I'll do weird shit like that to other people. So, like, it's just interesting. But yes, I think it is important to, like, try to act it out, but to, like, take care of each other. And the whole thing of like gassing each other up, we know when things did not go our way. Yeah. You telling me that I did a good job if I really fucked up a set, or hey, like, way to get out there, girl, you did it. I'm not going to think, oh my God, my set really was amazing. That was the best set of the year. No, I know I didn't do my best. Like, and I think sometimes we can be a little literal in when we give feedback, which is also what I appreciate about comedians. I do appreciate how comedians are so honest and unfiltered, where you really can get that true feedback. Yep. And I think that's a cool part of this art form is people, if I tell someone like, can you tell me like super honest how that went? Oh, they'll have 5 notes in their head. And I love that. But it's also, I think, okay to be a little gay and be a fruit and just like get excited for your friends and hype each other up. Like, yeah. It's okay to be gay.
Yeah. We're okay with gay people here on Ruse Radio. Yeah. You can be gay. I will say it. I'll allow it. It's cool.
It's okay.
I'll watch. But I mean, like, I just think that I think it's interesting too how somehow that is like that's interesting how it is kind of like off-putting the actual honesty of it. But comedians too, like comedians, I think it's because comedy is naturally like a harsh environment. Like again, like the audience is going to be real with you. Yeah. And in that, the comedians will be real with you too. Like if they didn't like your jokes, they'll tell you exactly what you could do to make them better. And it's constructive in that way. Like sometimes they'll give you the exact thing the joke needed. And because they have that same exact frame of mind of how a joke might work, you know. And so, but an audience could never do that. An audience could never workshop a joke with you.
Exactly. Oh, yeah. They'll try. I remember one time.
They'll do it live.
Oh, yeah. They'll try. I remember one time after a show, my goal, and when I talked about like the intention, my intention for my set was to expand and to kind of like expand my jokes and take my time and slow down. And after this guy walks up to me, he was probably like in his 50s. He was like, hey, great job. You have great energy. You need more jokes though. And that was hard feedback because I also know that like joke writing verbatim, like pen to paper is the biggest thing I'm self-conscious about, right? Like I know I can have presentation, be animated, and get up there. But like, yeah, that was hard because I'm like, I know I don't have the most clever, tight writing all the time, but it's like also now I know it's like not my style. And what unhelpful feedback. Right. If you want to say, but like, yeah, people will give it to you. And I knew. And then honestly, it's like, oh, that actually was in line with my goal. It was to take my time and it was to expand. But people will always have something to say. Yeah. And so you really just have to stay true to that. And even with that, I'm like, yeah, I know I'm aware of my weaknesses. It's not burying your weaknesses. Like they're still there, but it's just like being gentler about them.
Yeah, you can't bury your weaknesses.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because then they fester,
Yeah.
They just somehow naturally, exponentially grow.
For sure. Yeah. Because if you fully avoid them, it will just be you're slowing down your growth. Right.
Downward trend.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, I just feel like, and again, you don't have to be attacking and criticizing yourself for everything you need to improve upon, but also I think again the positive mindset being like, so it's if you're a team, if you as an artist is a basketball team, you are as strong as your weakest player. So same with your own set of strengths and weaknesses, right? Like I am as strong as my,
you're as strong as your greatest weakness. Yeah.
And so, yeah, I can keep avoiding it and stuff, but also it's something where, how like you see artists and you're like, if they just stopped doing this one thing or did do this one thing, it would elevate everything. Mm-hmm. And I feel like that's a good way to view your weaknesses. It's like, maybe I'm avoiding the X thing, or I just need to like write more, like just like study a little bit more. If you just did that one thing, like all of your comedy or like art would just elevate. And that's more of motivating to me that like, oh, if I make my one weakness better, then your strengths will become better too.
Wow. Wow. It's what that guy said about like focusing on one thing at a time.
Yeah.
Wow, that's very smart. That really is such great advice because you can apply that to so many, just in life. Like today, I'm going to focus on asking better questions, like whatever you want it to be. And then all of a sudden you start doing that more and more and more and more and more and more and more.
Yes. Yeah. It's like a habit because I do use it. Yeah. In my life too, or even like you have a lot going on. I'm like, my goal needs to be like, just to relax, to reset, put my phone away for 30 minutes.
Yeah.
Because all that stuff applying it to being a human will also apply to your art because your art is an extension of yourself.
Yeah.
So like,
and like with comedy and all of that, kind of like what we were saying about like working on yourself, becoming like real, whatever that is. I think it all starts with yourself. It all starts with what you're bringing into that. So if you don't find like some state of alignment, some state of like just being chill, just being able to relax, just whatever that is for you, you won't have it when you take that onto a stage or into that art form. All of those combating thoughts that you carry around will transfer into that. And I think that's what causes stage anxiety and people to not come across right, is because they're carrying all of that into there. Like they didn't focus on themselves first, and then they brought all of that into that place. And it just didn't work. Yeah. And if you don't know where all that started, which is if you can't pinpoint it, like, oh, maybe I just need to chill out for a couple of days. Yeah. If you can't do that, then you'll just be stuck in that cycle forever, indefinitely. Yeah. It just never. And then again, it gets worse and worse and worse, and it becomes that downward trend. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's like, it's just like heavy. Like if you view it as luggage, like all those like, negative thoughts.
I mean, they literally call it baggage.
Yeah. It's your baggage. That's a good point. Your baggage. Like you can tell when someone has a lot of baggage, and sometimes they're creative in using it. And sometimes you're like, wow, this baggage is really holding this person back. And you're like, there's so much there, but I want them to be okay.
And like what you just said too, like if they just flip that one thing, if they just drop that one thing of baggage, if they just put it down, they could just get so much better. Just that, whatever that one thing
and
is.
And it's so true. So like in my like darkest times, again, it's like the constant like stream of thought, right? The monologue, like that's how it comes out to me, is just words in my head. So one exercise that I did during the pandemic, because we actually had time to like do stuff, is I had this workbook, and it's seriously like you write out the negative thought you're having, and then you rewrite it. It's hard to come up with things from a blank script, but then like whenever that negative thought is coming up, now like I have replacements for them. And it sounds silly and you have to take time to do it, but if you have a critical thought that's really bothering you, it's like you write it down. Yeah, just kind of like think about like what that is. Is that true? Like, is that actually true? Do I want it to be true? No. And that's the thing, is like, I'll feel it's true. Do I want, because when you're so deep in it, your negative thoughts are true.
Yeah.
Do you want that to be true? It's uncomfortable to change that thought. It's really awkward to feel like you would deserve to like say something nice and fruity to yourself, but you do. It's weird. It feels uncomfortable, and it will feel fake at first. You're going to feel like a phony. But like when you take that thought of like, I'm not good. Yeah, I'm not good enough to be here. Like, there's no way I'm going to get better at this. You know, it's like a constant one with performance and comedy with me. Just be like, you know what? If other people are here, I'm good enough to be here too, and I'm going to try my best. And it's like you write that down. So like when you hear the sentence in your head starting to go negative, like you try to pause it and replace it and repeat it. It's hard, but like,
it's like if you were a robot and you were programming yourself.
Yeah,
that's really what
how
it's like.
Is.
And you have to reprogram yourself.
Yes, I've had to do a lot of reprogramming.
And it's interesting too how it's kind of like that placebo effect thing we were talking about before. Off the camera, people are like, they never mentioned placebo. Yeah, we did that in private.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, hot chat. Sorry you missed out.
Yeah. We said names. But anyway, so if it's that placebo effect, and you're telling, even that is powerful enough. Like, even if you just tell yourself the same thing over and over and over again, you actually will reform the reality.
True. Okay. Yeah. So this is one of my favorite cheerleader phrases, is fake it till you make it. I learned this in cheerleading, guys, because you're exhausted, your team is losing, you're not having fun. Fake it till you make it. It's your job to take care of the crowd, the team, the spirit. And I would say that when I worked at summer camp. Don't worry, I have weirder hobbies and past. But when I worked at Christian summer camp, you're exhausted. You're with kids all day. You're basically working like 16 hours a day when you're a camp counselor, if anyone's done this. And I would joke with the staff. I'd be like, fake it till you make it. And someone's like, well, why would you want to be fake? Like, you don't want to be artificial. Like, why do you say that? And it's exactly what you said, of you fake it and you keep trying until you make it real and genuine and believe in yourself. And then that's the energy that is put out. And it can be hard. Like, it's like a rock tumbler. It can be hard to like get out all the kinks and the flaws in that process. And it doesn't always work, but you try, try to fake it till you make it.
And I think of that when it comes to successful people, because any art form that you're pursuing is ultimately unrealistic. When you really think about it, what are the odds of success in this thing, this crazy art form, being a film director, being an actor, being a painter, being a digital artist, being a comedian, being a comedian, being a musician, any of those things. When you look at like the odds, like the people who are the best at it and the people who actually get to the point you want to get to, whatever that is, it's not a great number. It's like, it's very hard to do so. But all the people who have done it were saying that to themselves when they started. They were faking it until they made it. They were telling themselves, I'm going to get here no matter what this looks like, no matter what the odds are, I will be successful. And then one day they did. And sure, there's a million people who don't make it per se, but the ones that do were always thinking that. They were never not thinking that. Like, anybody who's successful was not thinking the whole way on their path to success, I'm not saying it ain't gonna be me. Like, that's just literally 0% is that the story. Like, it's always them visualizing it and telling themselves that story. And I think like, one thing I always say is, we are the stories we tell ourselves, right?
Yeah.
So
wow,
if I
that's a great way to
tell
say it.
myself that story, if I tell myself that I'm at the beginning of this and I'm just going to get better and I am going to be successful. Then I have to create the middle of that story. Like I know the ending, so now I have to imagine what the middle's going to be. How do I get to that point that I'm imagining at the end of the story? And if you could also tell yourself the opposite story. You could also tell yourself, I'm not going anywhere. I'm not going to do anything. And then you won't.
Yeah.
And then you literally won't.
Yeah, you won't. And also so the biggest thing that has always held me back too is that I have goals that are too high for where I'm at the moment. So yeah, setting a realistic goal and being honest about what the outcome could be and being okay with that. So even, with stand up, again, the realistic goal is to get up. That's what it was when I first started stand up. It was like going out 5 times a week. My goal is to do the thing. That is it. It doesn't have to be good. It doesn't have to be anything. It is to get out there 5 times a week. And I did that I ended up doing it for like a year. And that's how I kind of had my foundation. But same with the shows that I started to run once I was doing stand up, I'm like, I want to start some shows, but it's scary. You feel like nobody knows you or respects you when you've just been doing it for a year. And so I started a few shows that were they went okay. And it was still fun. And I learned what not to do.
Yeah.
They were learning experiences. And then with the shows I run now, I'm really excited and happy about them. With Wigs, and Comedy and Caviar, they've just been really fun and enjoyable, but they have been hard work. And with both of those shows, I almost didn't do them because I thought no one's going to want to come to this show. This is dumb. Period. and then with Ron Hexagon, we were just kind of talking and I was like, I feel like we need more joy in the scene, right? Roast Battle is one of the biggest shows, which I fucking love.
It's great.
And with Roast Battle, we also need things that are silly and fun, because we have so much variety in this scene and we need to be there. And so I was telling him, I'm like, well, during the pandemic, me and my friends would do karaoke and wigs on Facebook, on a Facebook group and sing to each other during the pandemic. Because we're because it's dumb and fun. That's why. And so I was like, we need something like this in the comedy scene to again, make people a little vulnerable.
Yeah.
Get people out there, do something slightly different, but you still have your full reign. And so that's how we came up with Wigs. And Ron would not let me let go of the idea. He messaged me every week just being Wigs.
That was a 1-word message.
Yes, just a 1-word message.
And it communicated everything he was trying to say.
And I knew what he meant. He was like, this is fun. Yep. We believe in it. Let's do it. But it took me a few months to be okay with it. Okay. And then we did it. We launched it. We just, we've been doing it for a year and a half. We just took our show on tour to Michigan.
Oh, really?
Yeah, we took Wigs to a brewery in Blissfield, sold out both shows, had a great lineup.
Wigs on wheels, folks.
Wigs on wheels. Wait, oh my gosh, that's great. I'm going to tell him that.
Rapper brand.
Wigs on wheels. We love alliteration. And it went so well. And it's I can't even imagine. And it's when we take our show on the road, we make wig packages for the audience. So each audience member has their own wig. And the whole room was in wigs. We're doing stand-up comedy. And it's this is an idea that I, might have flushed down the toilet. But when you have friends that aren't afraid to gas you up and be there, it can work out. And same with Comedy and Caviar and Kelly, who was just on. I told her, I was like, oh, I wanted to do a show at the restaurant I work at, Le Bouchon, but I'm afraid because I don't want it to be too bougie. I don't want to price people out. No one will want to spend money on this. It's a $55 ticket and we've sold out 3 shows and we're about to sell out our double feature. And it's again, because when you have people that also are on the same page, which can take a long time to find people that you're on the same page with. I wish I would have found Ron and Kelly 10 years ago. I don't even think Ron lived here, but now, they're my people. And these ideas are so fun because that's what we want to bring. Again, there's already edginess out there in the scene that's awesome. And there's already things that are competitive, right? Shows and mics that are competitive. But I think what we want to bring is we want to bring levity, fun, a vacation from your life, and silliness to the comics and the audience. And that's why I'm having fun at my shows. That's my goal too. Is I'm oh, I'm so glad I get to run the show because it means I get to do it.
Yeah, right.
It means I get to pick a different wig every month and do comedy. Like, that's awesome. Or Comedy and Caviar. I'm like, I get to do a show around bouginess and drink champagne and tell dirty jokes. Like, this rocks.
Yeah.
And so that's also what I want for the scene is like, run a show that like you want to go to, that like you want to be a part of. Like, because I want to know what other people have and I want to like dip into their world.
Yeah. I mean, that's great advice too, because, you know, I think about music the same way. Like, make music you would like to listen to. Like,
That's
make
so-
art that
yeah.
would intrigue you, you know?
Yes.
And through that, you will interest other people. Like, just following that thread of thought, like, what would interest you? It's your taste that ultimately... I think you don't realize the power of your own ideas because you're so used to yourself. Like, that
And
wig
being critical
idea.
on yourself too. Yeah.
Yep. So you're thinking about wigs. You're thinking,
And I'm like, oh, everyone does this.
everyone does this. I'm still, anybody could come up with that.
Everyone
yeah.
wears wigs in their living room. Everyone showers in a wig.
Right?
Right? Right?
Guys?
Hello? Is this thing on?
Yeah. But that's how it goes. You're so used to yourself. You're like, oh, well, you know, whatever. That's just an idea I had. But then, like, I think through introducing those ideas and actually playing them out, you realize the value of it. Like, when you tell yourself, I can't charge $45 for a ticket, no one's going to go. Yeah. And then you do it and everybody goes.
Yeah.
You're
And they're like, this is very affordable for what you get. I'm like, wait, what?
Yeah. You're like, wait, okay. You start looking at those ticket prices a little bit more critically now.
Yeah.
Maybe we could do 80.
Yeah, I know, right? You're like, oh, take it up a notch. Yeah.
Hold on. Like, that lady said, what now?
Yeah.
Start throwing in some VIP packages or something,
Exactly. Bottle service.
Yeah. But I mean, like, I think it's so hard to know, to gauge it, you know? And like, what you said about needing people too, that's just so true. Like, it doesn't ever happen in a vacuum, you know?
Yes.
It never ever happens like that. You know, you see the one person that you see, but there's a million people behind that person or a million connections that they've made that allowed them to get there. That again, it's so personal. It's so their own journey, whatever that was.
Yes.
So you can't understand it.
It is so true.
And it seems impossible if you're the person who feels like they don't have any connections.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is hard. But no, I love this idea and I believe in it so much because art and growth and all those things, it does not exist in a vacuum.
Yeah.
And I love the word, and it's so true because we also think that the more we connect and ask for help and collaborate, the more watered down our art is. Well, my art's not as potent because I took this tag that somebody gave me and it didn't come directly from the gods in my living room, the art gods, you know, when I was drinking coffee. It's like, no, we are constantly stealing like artists. We are constantly molding each other's ideas. Nothing has been birthed from my own brain. Like, we exist out of like a ton of recycled ideas.
Everything is a remix.
Yes, everything's a remix, and that's how we make things happen. And so I think it's also like the pride, letting go of the pride of like, and being like, my art is just as valuable when I'm collaborating. And that's been hard for me too. Like, again, I feel like if I did this on my own, it would be more impressive or this. And again, like, you're doing a lot of this on your own, but you also collaborate with people. Mm-hmm. So it's like you do both. Like, and I just think it's important. And I like that because it opens us up. And when we're connected, we can just make things bigger. Like, when we're connected, we get more ideas. We can produce more quality. We're not as burnt out when we're sharing and asking for help and asking for feedback.
Yeah. There's a line from a song of mine that comes to mind. Hold up. I got soldiers that I'm working with. Sorry, ma, how you move a boulder with encouragement.
Yeah.
But yeah, you can't, like a boulder, you're not going to push it by yourself.
Yes.
You're going to need like 300 people.
Yes.
All pushing that boulder all at once to get it to budge.
Yes.
You know? And it is that, like, that constant, like, with what I was saying about, like, it doesn't exist in a vacuum. It's that constant introducing those ideas to the world and seeing people's reactions and getting their opinions, and like you learn to shape things. I have a shirt called that says Professional Mind Blower on it. That was the first t-shirt I really made. Get them now, folks. $25. Smallest, mediums, and largest. We can make other sizes if you need. But I was just saying that to people. I was saying like, yep, I'm a professional mind blower. It's what I do. And some guy said to me, DW, shout out DW. He said, you should put that on a shirt. And I was like, oh my God, you're right. And it was just him saying that string of words that I needed to hear. Like that was it. I already had the idea all pretty much set up, just like how you were already doing the wigs thing already a little bit. You already were having fun in wigs, and you already were doing something similar. You just needed the idea to flip. You needed something to introduce that flip of the idea to turn it into a show. Yes. And like, you won't do it by yourself. You think you will, but like people will say things that you just would never think of yourself. And you're like, oh, that's why I love doing stuff like this, like a podcast, is because people say crazy things. People say all kinds of things. People are unpredictable. And you, again, it reminds you how unique you are too, when you see how unique everybody else is. Like it's just, you could never ever take someone else's brain and imagine what it would do. You think you could, but like you just don't know, because everybody's an accumulation of a million different moments that led to right now, and that's the perspective they can give to you, is whatever that was that they had. Yes. Yeah. And that's why when you align on those very unique things to your art, right? Like if you find, like, again, I didn't think I would find somebody else that was excited to do a stand-up show in wigs as I was. I would be pumped. You know what I mean? Like, but I guess like I didn't realize it because I was afraid to bring it up. I thought it was a dumb idea. And then I did find that. And then it's like, look, also now, like, we have so many submissions of other people there are some people who submit in wigs? That'd be great. Some people to submit will send us pictures of themselves in wigs. That's awesome. And then they do kind of get bumped up. We're like, you're a freak. We're like, we're going to bump you up because like that was fucking weird. And I love that. But yeah, it's like, who would have known that so many people want to do stand-up in a wig? Yeah. Like, I thought that, I'm like, people might think this is really nerdy and campy and like lowbrow. But yeah, you never know. And that's the thing, like, you never know until you try. And it is scary. Like, there's a show that Stephen Black and someone else, and it's Comedy Bingo, and I want to go just to see what that even is. Oh my gosh. Yeah. Because in my brain it sounds like something that, like, how the fuck do you come up with that? Comedy plus bingo? That's fun. But that's fun, exactly. Yeah. That's the allure. Like, because it reminds me of wigs, where it's like, I could see how you'd come up with comedy bingo, and you'd be like, no, nobody's gonna show up. Yeah. But I bet a bunch of people would show up just to see what. And that shit, dude, we're playing bingo. Exactly. I'll play some bingo. Right. I think they got prizes. I think they really. Yeah, it sounds interactive. Yeah. It sounds like it could get competitive. Like another one of those themed ideas that I like a lot is that joke swap one they do. Oh my gosh, joke swap is. Do you know who produces that? Yeah, Lucy Ferrante. Shout out. Yes. No, and it is. I didn't know that was her. Yes. Nice. Yeah, so I think she brought that idea, like, it was maybe close to 2 years ago when she started it. And it's just like, it's a genius idea of just like, we're going to do something simple that we've kind of seen before, like on the late night show. Like, we've kind of seen this concept in ways, but we're finally going to put it on stage. I mean, that's what Roast Battle was when it became big around like the mid 2010s. It was something that had already kind of been done a couple times, but then they turned it into a show. Yeah. And all of a sudden it just became a thing. I love it. That joke swap thing, that I could see that being like a major thing. Like, that's something that could easily expand and grow. Oh, yeah. Because all kinds of comedians could participate in that. I mean, it's just such a fun, for lack of a better word, gimmick, you know? Yes. It is. And I think that, like, what's fun about, when people are running shows where it's like, it's fun for the comic. Exactly. Right? And like, there's some shows too that have a little bit more homework that are harder for me. I am always happy that I did them because like I'm that like, the comedian Her Story one. I feel like that'd be a lot of work. I did that, and that was hard for me. It was more homework. It took more prep. When I ended up doing it, I had a lot of fun and I riffed and it was great. But like that was harder for me. Because it is like an intellectual exercise. Yeah. And I'm like, I pride myself on being fun, not smart. So
I really do, right? And so I was like, oh, fuck. I'm like, history, God. Like, I don't know. Let's see. Yeah, I can tell you the best.
I haven't opened a book in 20 years.
I know, seriously. I haven't. I'm like, this is hard. But then it's like, you play into that. Like, using your strengths. And like, I think like things like joke swap. And if you're ready for a roast battle and if you want to do wigs, it's like from the site, you're like, I'm excited to do this. And like, I can't wait to be up with my friends, like with joke swap. And like seeing them read these things, like you can envision the fun you're going to have as a comic. And I really like those shows that like comics are like, oh, I want to do this too, because then you're taking care of the artist.
For those that don't know, joke swap is the comedians write jokes for each other.
Oh, yes.
So, and then the other comedian reads off the jokes that the other person wrote.
For sure.
So part of the fun is getting your friends to say ridiculous things.
Yes. And what's cool about joke swap, or if they're still structuring it the same way, it's different from roast battle because there's not a winner and loser. It's just for the purpose of entertainment, which I think does provide a freedom to people who are not as competitive, because it's just about the fun of it and seeing the switch. Versus roast battle, that's the fun in a different way. It is intense. It might rock you. You might lose, like, but that's also, that brings a different level of fun.
Yeah, the audience might hate you because of your energy.
I know, they might. Sorry, I'll pull it back.
There was an open mic my friend invited me to last night, and I just thought it was so odd because looking at the poster, it's a music open mic. It was a $10 entry. They had headliners. And there was somebody who was going to win the open mic, and there was like a prize. Wow. And I'm just thinking, well, that's not an open mic. Why are they calling it an open mic? That's not what that is. You can't have headliners at an open mic.
Yeah.
What even is this? I was so confused looking at the poster. I'll show you after. I was like, well, what is this?
Yeah.
You guys are scamming me right now.
That's kind of wacky. You're like, no.
Yeah.
That can't be real.
They must have just went to one open mic and they got the wrong idea.
Weird.
Like they don't know what
$10?
they are. That's what I'm saying. You, for one, I mean, because some open mics have drink minimums, so I guess the $10 I can excuse. But headliners, like what? What does that even mean? Like, does that mean that they go on at 1:30 when the open mic ends?
Oh my god!
You know what I mean? Like, what's a headliner at an open mic? Does that mean they start the open mic, which is the opener, not the headline?
Yeah.
What's going on here?
Yeah.
People say the craziest things. This is the entertainment of the humankind to me. The fact that humans exist. They come up with shit I could never come up with.
Yeah.
The fact that I could tell you that, I would have never come up with headliners for an open mic. We're going to charge $10. And also, you win studio time with J-Bone at the end if you're the best rapper. I would have never came up with that.
J-Bone?
I made that up, but there was studio time with a producer. Like, you get 1 hour of free studio time.
Yeah. I was going to say, if that name's not taken, it's mine now.
J-Bone.
Call me J-Bone.
What was that bad rap name I said right before we started? Something Brown? Brown.
Oh.
It wasn't Brown Street.
It was about the stank.
Yep.
Was it Brown Stank?
Brown Stank. I don't think that's what it was, but that's even better. They call me Brown Stank. I got that stank on me. I know what the crowd think. I got that thing on me. I'm built for this shit.
Yes, you are.
I am Brown Stank. So you said you have an interview at 1:30. It's 1:11.
Okay.
So
I think
it's probably
yes.
But it's been a great time. I could have went even longer. This is a fun one. We'll have you back on real soon.
I would love to. Yes. No, this has been amazing. Thank you so much for having me and let me talk shop. You run a cool thing, so I'm really excited for you.
Oh yeah, only upward trending from here.
We love it.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And with that being said, you got any people that you not people. You got any this is the moment that you get to give the kids at home the advice, this is where you tie it all up in a bow. You can tell them the final message for the audience, give them something inspirational, and also throw in those social medias so they can find you.
Oh my gosh. Yes. Don't give up. If you want to do it, do it. It will be hard, but if you want to do it, it will be worth it. And when you're following your dream, be gentle. Try to get it 70% perfect, because that's the main reason we're not following our dreams, right? Like, it won't be perfect. It won't be what I expect. It won't be. Will it be better? Eventually. I don't know, but it will be worth it, and you deserve it. Like, you deserve it for your own life, and I can believe that everyone around you probably wants you to do it. And so, yeah, just know that it's not going to be perfect. It will be fun. And that's what I tell myself too when I'm in my head and I'm like, again, it's another big opportunity. I don't want to fuck it up. And I'm like, I need this, this, and this. It won't be perfect. It will be fun. And so I'm excited for everyone to be following their dreams and doing their things and taking risks. Follow me on Instagram. I'll follow you back so I can also hype you up and be your cheerleader. So my handle is Big Red Claire. And if you're in Chicago, yes, I run Wigs. It's a great time. The event is also BYOW. We want you to bring your wig and be in the audience. Bald caps accepted.
There's a room full of lunatics.
It's a crazy house. It's so fun. And then, I also run Comedy and Caviar, an elevated comedy experience where class meets crass. And it's fun to be bougie and dress up and take care of yourself. And you can see, Chicago's finest.
Don't wear a wig to that one. I mean, you can, but, choose wisely.
Yeah, you can wear a toupee. A tasteful toupee, sure. But don't wear a wig.
No blue afros.
Yeah, no blue afros at that one. But no, obviously, would love to see anyone around. And if you're seeing this, please come and say hi. I'm pretty friendly. But thanks so much for listening.
All right. Thank you for being here. Thank you guys for being here. You listen to this whole thing, you're a lunatic just like us. Throw a wig on, folks.
Yes.
With all that being said, Ruse Radio. Clocking out.
Double down, competition couldn't help him to rock. Missed the whole time, holy fell through the flock. That's an ordinary miracle, wealth to the block. It's a balance in the character that's calm and collect. It's apparent his caricature is lost in the mess. It's hysterical, the picture that